I welcome you to our monthly broadcast at Anselmo Academy, and thank you so much for tuning in support of this initiative. Today, we present Kevin Meidl, choral conductor and educator, who also serves on the honorary board at Anselmo Academy, and the board provides moral support in support of Academy and its mission. Welcome, Kevin. Please say hello.
Hello, it's good to see everybody, at least
Ex-
virtually.
Yes, thanks so much for joining us. My voice today is a little bit under the weather. I should audition to one of your choirs, I think.
Oh, I think you'd be perfect, at least on the alto section,
Yeah, I maybe even contralto, I'm thinking.
maybe contralto.
Or basso profundo for
I
for
don't
your
think so.
male, male choir. I want everybody to evaluate my voice today and send me your grade.
Mm.
Anyway, brief announcements before we feature Kevin, his bio, his pictures, his videos, dialogue, and much more. So our fall semester is open and ongoing for private lessons. We also organize group classes throughout New York, all five boroughs, New Jersey, Rockland County, and Westchester. And can we please have a flyer for the fall? Great, thank you very much. For any questions or inquiries, please visit us at anselmoacademy.org. Anselmo Academy is a nonprofit 501c3 organization. We are celebrating our 25th school year this fall, and we specialize in organizing private but mostly group classes in collaboration with many school programs throughout New York and New Jersey. This past academic year, we have served 2,000 students a week, and our classes vary from large groups of general music education to small group classes in piano, guitar, violin, musical theater, recorder, choir, drama, and more. Please subscribe to our social media platforms and also subscribe to our two e-newsletters that you can find at anselmoacademy.org homepage at the bottom right. We have first newsletter that comes out in the beginning of the month called Academic Newsletter, where we mostly share our internal updates and events and happenings. And then by the third week, we also come out with a second newsletter that's called On Stage, where besides our internal updates, we also feature events like this one you're watching today, where we invite well-recognized, esteemed musicians from around the world to share their musical journey to inspire all our listeners. Great. We hope you enjoy our program today. Also wanted to wish all of you who celebrate happy Thanksgiving holidays. Can we please have Kevin's picture on the screen as I go to his bio, please? Wonderful. Kevin Meidl is an American conductor, music educator, and leader in the field of choral music artistry and performance. He presents master classes to teachers and conductors worldwide and conducts ensembles of all ages, styles, and voicings. He is in demand as a director of honor, all state, and festival choirs across the US and abroad. Kevin was a founding conductor with the Badger State Girl Choir in 2006. As conductor and artistic director of this ensemble, he leads elementary, middle, and high school girls in a diverse performance-based program, inclusive of both choral music performance and literacy. In 2022, the Badger State Women's Choir was added to the extensive program, and in 2025, the organization expanded further with the inclusion of the Badger State Youth Choirs, Green Bay. In addition, he is the artistic director and principal conductor with the Appleton Boy Choir, a treble choir of young boys currently celebrating the 47th season. He is past director of choirs and music department chair at Appleton West High School and the Renaissance School for the Arts. He taught junior high school and high school choral music in Appleton for 37 years. He's also past conductor of the Fox Valley Symphony Chorus, a 100-voice adult choir that performed and annually major works with the Fox Valley Symphony Orchestra. Kevin is past president of the Wisconsin Choral Directors Association and the North Central Division of the American Choral Directors Association. In these positions, he created the International Youth Symposium on Choral Music in Altötting, Germany. Hope I said that right. If not, Kevin, you can correct me later. And the National Conference for High School Students Considering Careers in Choral Music called Next Direction. He has developed various initiatives in support of music education in Wisconsin, including confabs for choral directors, music repertoire banks, summer choir camps, and the highly successful Immersion Day concept for divisional ACDA conferences. His most recent initiative is focused on Scandinavia and the Baltic states. Festival of Three brings the world's finest choral ensembles together to premiere newly commissioned works by internationally renowned composers and to join voices in remarkable venues. In 2022, 23, and 25, festivals included some 800 singers from 5 countries, with Latvia's Eric Anzonwald's and Estonia's Bart Osberg as the commission composers. He founded the Pons International Composition Competition in 2024 and introduced Broadway in the Caribbean in 2025. In 2026, the first International Handball Festival will also be produced by his Arts Engage International Corporation. All the initiatives are based in Puerto Rico. As an adjudicator, conductor, clinician, and lecturer, Kevin is in demand across the US and internationally. In 2022 through 25, he has worked in Greece, Italy, Poland, Finland, Sweden, Latvia, Estonia, Portugal, Spain, Norway, Costa Rica, and Puerto Rico. He has written dozens of articles and is a contributing author in Brothers Sing On. Excuse me. He has worked extensively with the unchanged male singing voice, as well as nearly 4 decades conducting tenor bass and changing voice ensembles. He often presents master classes on these subjects. He has conducted his choirs on 15 professional music conference convention programs and has offered workshops in some 45 countries during his career. I'm sorry, 35 countries. I'm going blind. Dr. Meidl studied conducting with William Hines Jr., Constantina Solino, Kate Tamarkin, Robert Harris, and John Paintner at Northwestern University. He holds degrees from Lawrence University, Boston University, and Northwestern. Great. And by the way, our first video that you've heard um, featured, the piece was called Winds of the Winged Heart, performed by Badger State Girl Choir. And now we're going to hear um, Foray Mass Bass. Take a look, a little excerpt.
We
Lovely. And now we're moving to the dialogue portion of this broadcast. So, Kevin, I sent you some questions, and let's begin. So first question, what did you dream about in your childhood? Was it ever related to singing, choir, or anything like that? If not, we'd love to know. And how did you discover this passion for choral music, for conducting and more? Go ahead.
That's a very interesting question, and thanks for sharing those videos. I haven't actually seen those for a very long time. It's really nice. Um, I should mention too, before I answer your question, that in the first video we had Ivica Radevska, who's a French horn player from Serbia, and that piece was something that she and I commissioned from a Floridian composer who unfortunately passed away just before that premiere. So that was the premiere of his work, and he had died probably a month or two before that. So it was remarkable to see that. And this last video that you all saw was from Trebnica, Poland, and that's a university choir from Wrocław. And the soloist is Dominika Zamara. She's Polish, but she lives in Italy. A tremendously beautiful church and a wonderful experience to conduct there. So back to your question. I was a country boy. So I grew up in the middle of just about nowhere. There was woods on three sides of my parents' house, and there was a beautiful hill going down to a river, not a stream, but a real river that passed by. And we owned property on both sides of the river. And then just to the other side was the farmers' fields. So there were cows. Growing up in Wisconsin, of course, you have to have cows, right? It's America's dairy land, lots of cheese and milk products here. So it was a very quiet existence for me. I was the oldest of four kids. And I think the very last thing my parents would ever have thought would that they would have a musician child, somebody who made music their profession. It was, I'm sure, a surprise to them when that all came to be. But as a kid, one of the first things I remember is taking rides in the car with my mom and dad. And my mom would love to sing, and she would coax dad into singing too. So he would sing the melody, and she would just improvise a harmony on top because she had incredible ears and a beautiful voice. Neither one of them trained musicians per se. I think mom probably sang in the choir when she was in school, and my dad played the cornet in band. But one of the earliest memories I have of music was that experience. And so I learned some folk songs, and I learned some, I guess, traditional American songs that weren't folk songs, spirituals and other things like that. Songs like Shenandoah and
Mhm.
On Top of Old Smoky. And so that's my earliest memory of music, and it was a good one. I think she probably had singing in the car because myself and my siblings were probably misbehaving. It was the only way they could get us to be quiet was to get us to sing. So it was a pretty good tactic because I learned to sing, I think, from my mom. I had good music teachers in school, elementary school. The bus turned around in my driveway and went back to school to the town that we were closest to, about 12 miles. So it was a long drive, probably half hour on the bus on the way home and a half hour on the way in the morning. So a long trek to school. But when I was there, the music classes were something I really enjoyed. I had good teachers, and I think that helped to have me enjoy that experience. And then right around, I would suppose it was fourth grade in my town, which was Manitowoc, they started kids on string instruments. And I don't know how I asked my parents or how it came to be, but I suppose the music teacher in class brought out a shiny violin, and we all went, we'd love to hold that. And that's probably why I went to my parents and asked if I could try the violin, and they said, okay. And neither one of them were really music people or instrumental people. So it was a big step, and it was an important step because I put a violin in my hands at what would that be, about age 9 or 10. And um, I don't know that I was great at it, but I sure loved it. And I had a wonderful teacher, Mr. Smith, had a long beard, and he would start my lessons by playing uh, Flight of the Bumblebee on the violin, just very acrobatic with his playing, and that inspired me. So I said, oh, I want to do that. So I stuck with the violin, and then the next year in elementary school, they allowed kids to take a band instrument. And so, since I liked the violin, I went to my folks. I said, could I play a band instrument too? And my dad said, sure, but we can't afford to rent another instrument. So we have this old cornet of mine in the basement, he said. And so I started playing the cornet. And it was an old instrument, and it had some trouble with its tuning, so it was hard to play. And I had a wonderful teacher at school who kept encouraging me, and eventually got me and my folks to buy a trumpet to use in school. So I had violin, I had trumpet, and by that time I was kind of sucked into music. I was taking lessons every week on those instruments at school. We had concerts, and I really liked it. And I can remember in fifth grade, they had a talent show every Friday just for the classes, very informal. They would open up the false doors between a couple of the classrooms, and kids could do anything they wanted to with approval of the teacher. So I I don't remember the teacher's name, but she said, "Is there anybody that would like to do something today?" And I don't know what possessed me to do it, but I raised my hand and I said, "I'd like to sing something." And she said, "What would you like to sing?" I said, "Well, I know the national anthem." And that seems like a strange thing to sing, even for me now today. I don't know why I picked that, but I had an unchanged voice, very high, and I sang the national anthem. And it was just a Friday afternoon in a fifth grade class, and all the kids clapped, except my friend Bill Robbins, who fell out of his seat laughing. But I felt so encouraged and so inspired by just the fact that I stood up and sang with a voice that I hadn't really used before, other than in class. And I just liked it and I stuck with it. So I started singing in choirs when the choirs became available. By the time I was in junior high school, I was playing in the band, the orchestra, and singing in choir. I had to take an extra hour of school every day because they had a rotating schedule. And in order to get all three music classes in, I had to spend an extra hour at school every day for my English class. And dad had to pick me up instead of taking the bus home. So it was important to me. I guess it must have been important to me in order to spend that kind of time. In the meantime, I picked up guitar and formed a little garage band with my friends, playing covers of all the pop tunes of the day, the Beatles and all these other groups. And that was fun to do too. And then again, some great teachers. I had junior high school teachers who were absolutely outstanding. They formed little madrigal groups and swing choirs and concert choirs, and there was a jazz band starting up and all sort of things that I got involved with. And I think the band director must have thought that I was good at it, or I don't know, maybe he thought I was bad at it. I don't know. He made me the drum major of the band for marching. So I got to walk in front of the band with a baton and a big old Shako hat on top. And then he sent me to Michigan, a different state, to go to drum major school for a couple of summers. So I learned how to twirl a baton and to lead the band and give commands and how to march. And oh, it was terrific. Not just because of the marching, but when I was at these camps, they had music theory, they had conducting, they had all
Mm.
sorts of things that we normally associate with high level music study. And I just got sucked right into it. I loved it. As I was a high school kid, I did all three musics and did jazz band. I took harmony class and writing music. And then as I was becoming a senior, I think all of the music teachers there knew that I was going to be a music major in college. So they were encouraging me. And the band director called me in one day and said, Kevin, you're a trumpet player, but we don't have any bassoon players next year. Would you consider playing the bassoon? And I said, I don't want to play the bassoon. That's an ugly instrument. I don't want to play that. He said, well, I think that you're going to be a choral music person in college. I think you are. So it'd be good for you to have double reed experience. So I said, okay. He said, and besides the drum majors, uh, the trumpets march, but the bassoons don't. So it would work great. So I picked up the bassoon, and I was awful at it. I hated the instrument, but I'm glad I did it because I did learn a little bit about the double reed family. And all my teachers let me conduct as a senior in high school with the band, choir, and so I had a little opportunity being in front of people. And then it came down to college, and we had this gentleman who came to our school to do a workshop, present to us, and I thought he was terrific. His name was Carl Erickson. He was at Lawrence University. And so I decided right then and there I was going to apply to Lawrence University, and I got in to the Conservatory of Music, and he was the conductor. So it was just wonderful. And I spent my 4 years at that university. He left, a new teacher came in, gave me all sorts of opportunities. Lawrence was a terrific school, very small number of students. I think by the time I was a senior, there were 4 students in the choral music education program. So all of us got a lot of hands-on work, which was great. And then I got a job. I got a job before I even finished college.
Mm,
I had lots of experience, and so the Appleton Area School District came to me and said, "We're looking for somebody. We think you'd be a good fit." I never even filled out a resume. It was just a
mm,
really easy thing to do. I had
great.
started up. I was very interested in boy choirs and treble boy singing. So I formed a little boy choir while I was in college in a small town called Kiel, and it gave me all sorts of background in how to work with boys' voices, what they sound like, what they can do, what they can't do. And so I was hired immediately after graduating college with the Appleton Boy Choir, and I've been with them now for 44 years. It's absolutely incredible. I can't imagine doing anything for 44 years except making music. I mean, that's about the best job anybody could have.
Do you keep in touch with any of them who started first with you?
No, no, I
No.
don't. It's funny, but it was just for me, it was more like a laboratory experience rather than the group doesn't exist anymore. That was
Mm,
one of those cases where I created
mm,
this group and worked with them for a couple of years, and when I left, the group didn't exist anymore. And since I had moved on to Appleton and
mm.
their boy choir, there was no need. But I do sometimes think back at what a wonderful, trusting experience that was for those parents to send me their boys on Saturdays to do that choir. And the town of Kiel had donated a place for us to rehearse. It was wonderful. It was a great experience. And I think it set me up well for the work that I continued to do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I
Um,
think I may have covered most of my youth there, but I have to say that being a country boy and my parents not having any idea about getting piano lessons for me or dance lessons or much less any other type of music lessons, somehow I was able to make a go of it because I loved it so much. I had such a deep feeling for music as a kid. And I don't know when it really clicked with me that that's what I wanted to do my whole life, but certainly by junior high school, I knew I wanted to direct choirs. And I don't know that that's the case with most people. I think it's a little
mm,
bit later usually.
definitely.
Yeah. But for me, it was, I can remember in junior high school, I was probably 13 or 14 years old, and I knew already that what I wanted to do with my life was to conduct choirs or instrumental groups. So
Fantastic.
it was good.
Yeah. So next question. So what makes you the most, I think you've answered this all already, but if you have to pick one, what makes you the most proud as a choral director, as an educator? What is the single thing that makes you most proud?
Yeah, I think it goes back to my parents again when I was a kid and they were singing in the car, those folk songs. Um, I feel like in our country here in America, it's really it's really a young country. We're 250 years old this next year, and we don't have the singing tradition, the musical. We don't have any traditions that go back really much before that. You go to a place like Poland or to Russia or to any place, Italy. Look at Italy. The traditions go back thousands of years in some cases, songs that have been handed down from generation to generation, folk music that people dance to in Ireland or in Scotland, these things that are part of the fabric of those societies we simply don't have in America. So I was thinking about this years ago, uh, thinking about my parents and what they instilled in me and how I still know those songs that they taught me. How could I bring that to children today or to communities? And so I thought about it a lot and I did some research and I studied all of the songbooks that they used in schools and with community groups during the 20th century and did a database of the songs that were in those books that they were singing. And I compiled a list of 25 of the most familiar songs that people sang during the 20th century in school classes, in worship, in community organizations. And I called that the canon of American song. If there's anything that's our tradition, it's those songs. Many of those came to us from Ireland, Scotland, Germany, Poland, Italy, but some are homegrown from the Appalachian Mountains or maybe from out west someplace. And I decided to make those songs available to teachers, parents, anybody for free. I asked major composers around the country, people like Stacy Gibbs, Z. Randall Stroop, Carol Barnett, people like this of this stature, to do an arrangement of each of those, of any one of those songs, or a different one that they considered to be part of the American fabric, and make the arrangements really beautiful, musical, but also easy enough that they could be sung by a single voice or many voices in harmony. And so I have three collections of songbooks now. They're called The Community That Sings Songbooks, volumes 1, 2, and 3, with great arrangements that I'm getting out to teachers, to parents, to anybody that wants them. They can be photocopied. We've been given the license to do that. They can be used in any setting, whether it be professional choir or children's choir. And I think you asked me what I'm most proud of. I'm proud of my efforts to bring song back to communities, to children mostly, but anybody, because I think if we sing together, we can't really fight. When people raise their voices together in song, we build bridges of understanding between us. And that's so important today. You and I come from different parts of the world. And I think today, in the melting pot of America, even the melting pot of the world, people from diverse cultures, experiences have to live together. And one of the best ways to live together, I think, is to make music together. And there's nothing more intimate and personal than singing. So I'm really proud of bringing those books and that idea to communities around the country.
Wonderful. Next question. So, what's your definition of success? What's success to you?
Well, I think success is measured one child at a time, one human at a time. We we find I don't remember who said it, but somebody said every child is born an artist until we sort of take it away from them in school, saying, "Oh, that's not very pretty. Oh, that's not a very straight line. Oh, that's not colored within the lines." So then children become self-conscious of being artists and making pretty things happen on paper or with clay. I think a lot of it's the same with singing or playing a band instrument or playing the piano or violin. We enter into this as children with wide eyes and eagerness and energy, and we understand the beauty of it all. And then we start to study, and that becomes hard work sometimes. Sometimes we complain to our parents, I don't want to go to that class or that lesson, or I don't want to go to that rehearsal. But yet, when they drive home after the rehearsal, they're singing in the car or they're excited because of what they just did. So I think success is convincing parents to support their children, even when they complain, to continue making music. Don't take it away from them. Success is convincing teachers to give children the opportunity to sing outside the notes, to draw outside the lines of the coloring book, to be creative, to use that creativity to make something that didn't otherwise exist. And if we can do that and get children to make music one at a time, I think that's success because we don't know, but 20 years from now, 30 years from now, 40 years from now, those children that are singing together today or playing in the orchestra together, they're going to be running this world. And without the creative spirit and without the ability to work with one another and to understand one another better because of the music they made, we won't have a successful world. So I think it's very important what we do. People sometimes say, oh, that's just an extra thing. Music is just an extra thing. Like with Ensemble Academy, they do it beyond the school day, probably most of it. And so how do we get those kids and those families to understand that this is not an extra? It's absolutely core to being human. To being human, we understand each other better. We understand our world better when we make music together. So success is instilling that in people.
Wonderful answer. Thank you. And so, what message are you sending to the world?
Well, I I think the world sent me a message about 20 years ago, 9/11.
Mm.
I wasn't living in New York City where I know you are living right now, but I was teaching school and school stopped. And they encouraged all of the teachers to turn the televisions on, the screens on, and let the children see what was going on because America was, for the first time, under attack in the homeland. And none of us knew what was going on. We were horrified by the buildings coming down, and of course, the people jumping out of those buildings and the catastrophe. And the subways were closed, the buses weren't running, the bridges were closed. And the thing that I remember that I will never forget from that day is in the afternoon sometime when people couldn't get home from their jobs because everything was closed. There were a group of 5 or 6 people, adults, standing on the edge of the Brooklyn Bridge. They were about to cross, but they kind of met there and they didn't know how to process what had happened. They were from different walks of life, maybe an accountant, a baker, maybe a lawyer, I don't know. But 5 or 6 people were standing there and they were singing together. The television camera came in and they were singing Amazing Grace. And it just took my breath away. The horrors of that day. But the thing I remember are these 5 or 6 people singing Amazing Grace. They didn't know each other before that moment, but they were singing together because that's all they could do. That's what humans do when things are very bad. They turn to the thing that's the most powerful in their life, and that's to join their voices together in song to help process the difficult time. That we do this as humans when there are joyful times like weddings or other celebrations. We bring our voices together, and I'll never forget the value of music to humanity because of that day and what I saw on television. And I knew for sure that those people needed to do that. And music teachers had somehow, somebody had taught them Amazing Grace, or they wouldn't have been out there singing it. So I learned the value right then of being a music educator and the value of our art to humanity. So my wish for everyone, for the world, is that we build bridges of friendship and understanding by making music together. It's a big mission for me. I do a lot of work around the world with Festival 3, which you mentioned earlier, but I love going to countries where music is deeply rooted, but they don't have the resources, they don't have the instruments. How can I help to inspire more giving, more sharing, more resources to countries like Puerto Rico, like Costa Rica, where they really, really need it? Because when we make music together and when we support each other in the arts, our mission of peace and goodwill through music is fulfilled.
Amazing answer. Fantastic. Thank you so much. we're now moving on to our third video, which is Tell Me Why by Boys Choir. Beautiful little number. Great. And next we have a picture gallery. So as we go through your pictures, you tell us a little detail
Can I
about
just
it.
say one thing about the song we just heard too? That's one of those commissioned works from a community that sings songbooks that we had a composer arrange just for everybody to use. So that's free and available to anyone.
Beautiful. Yeah.
So we have a picture here from our Lessons and Carols ceremony. We do this every year. It's a big community tradition in Appleton. It's a festival of 9 lessons and carols. That's a that's a program that we have sort of stolen from King's College, Cambridge. They've been doing it there for 150 years, where a little boy starts out singing Once in Royal David City a cappella. We process in. We've got an adult men's chorus, an organ. These years we use brass. A series of readers, starting with a little boy, and then a parent, and then community leaders, and it ends with the 9th lesson being read by the mayor of the city. And so it's a very powerful and beautiful, beautiful concert that takes place every December. It's aired throughout northeastern Wisconsin on television stations. Probably 1 million people see it every year. It's really beautiful. Huh, you probably recognize the actor Danny Glover. This is a few years ago now. We hired him to come in and be the narrator for a piece of music that we did at our Performing Arts Center. And it's fun, in this business we get to connect with lots of people that maybe are in a different bent of the arts, and I get to work with some wonderful people like Danny and other actors and dancers and professional musicians. It's really an exciting thing to dream up what we can do together. That's Eru Matsumoto. She's a Japanese cellist. And in fact, she's coming this week to do another concert with me. We've done many, many together over the years. She won the 2025 Grammy for her New Age album. So you can look up Eru Matsumoto. That's a phenomenal uh, recording. If you haven't heard it, you really need to. Eru was originally from Japan, but she lives in California now, and she does a lot of work, particularly in the gaming industry. She records the background tracks for a lot of the games that our children and adults play. Great musician and a good friend. Uh, okay, there I'm working in Beijing. This is the Genesis Choir. An adult professional choir. They invited me over to Beijing to do a week-long master class with music teachers, mostly college and upper secondary teachers. But in addition to doing the master class on choral conducting, they had me do a concert with this choir and a youth choir. Amazing singers and really beautiful, beautiful music, beautifully done. I enjoyed that very much. Okay, my profile. We don't need to show that too long, but that's a very interesting concert where that picture was taken. It was, I think, the 40th anniversary concert of the Appleton Boy Choir, and you can see in the background, those are not little boys; those are alumni of the choir. And over the last 45, I guess 47 years now, we have thousands of young men, old men, some are grandpas already who have gone through our program. And we're really proud to see that when they start singing as a child, most all of them continue either as singers in one way or another, church choirs, community groups, or they are encouraging of their own children to take music classes, which is really wonderful to see. When I go every week to do boy choir rehearsals now, I have children of former students, and that's a wonderful thing.
Wonderful. And we have another video. We don't have a name of the piece, but you sent it to us. It's, I believe, in a church where it's a girls' choir singing.
Okay, well,
So,
let me take a look at it and see what it is.
yeah, beautiful.
Yeah, that's interesting because that's a relatively recent recording. We were on tour last year in Austria and Germany with the girl choir, Badger State Girl Choir, and those are some of our singers. It's not the whole group, obviously, but some of our singers. And we were taking a tour of the Melch Abbey. And this is an incredibly beautiful Baroque structure where Anton Bruckner worked for many, many years as a composer organist. And so we walked into the chapel as you saw it there, and we said to ourselves, oh my gosh, I bet these acoustics are fantastic. I wonder if we can try it out. And so we asked permission. The girls that were with me formed up. You can see they're just wearing their travel gear,
Mm.
and they sang Abby Bettinas's Be Like the Bird. Abby is a Minnesota composer, and it wasn't anything formal. but you can tell how inspiring that type of acoustic is to
Mhm.
young musicians like that.
Yeah,
Not just
yeah,
the beauty of the building, but the acoustics of the sound. And that was
yeah.
a lot of fun.
Yes, wonderful. Well, I think that's it for this broadcast. Kevin, thank you so very much for joining us today. I truly enjoyed having you and getting to know you a little bit better. And thanks so much to everyone for watching. So long.
Thank you so much.